Yo, what's up, everyone? Today, we're going to destroy any credibility I may have in regards to being allowed to have opinions on video games. So, today, we're going to talk about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD. And not only do I have a lot to say about this, I also, before you get out pitchforks, I have, what is it, pitchforks and torches? Yeah, that's the expression. I have the absolute authority to talk about Tony Hawk related video games. I want you to know, and you don't have to take my word for this, I have proof. I am one of the best Tony Hawk players to have ever existed. So, in order to prove my point, that way you have to listen to my opinions. Check this out. Check this out. We got 1 plus 2 right here, right? So, what do you think? What do you think, like, say, my single session score in Warehouse would be? Maybe million, 2 million, something like that, something nice like that. All right, 35 million. Okay, so I have opinions about the Tony Hawk games, and I have the skills to back them up. Now, I didn't go this crazy with every level, but still 14 million in school. I'm still getting every time I try, I'm still getting multiple millions. Other times it's I guess I didn't try hard enough. But as you see, I'm doing stuff. All right, a little bit of story time in regards to 1 plus 2. So, I had it, literally the day it came out on Lash-In stuff. And then also, because I got, the deluxe version so I could play the demo, I got suckered into doing that. At least the game's amazing. I also have played the current-gen version quite a bit. So, I played this game online a lot, right? And if you play this game online, you go into, lobbies and you do, kind of single-session stuff, or you gotta get combos or whatever, the highest combo wins or whatever, and you play with I don't know, it was 12 people, 10 people, something like that. So, without exaggeration, about 9 out of 10 times when I was in a lobby, everybody else would leave after, a couple of games. I was that good, and that's not me trying to just brag, but people literally would not play with me. So, what's even funnier on top of that, there's multiple times I got angry messages about you suck and all this kind of stuff. And my response to that, and this is, I guess, just the way my brain thinks, is I would message back to them and I'd be like, hey, here's how I was doing this. Here's how I was doing this. And no joke, most of the times what I got back was really nice messages being oh, thanks. I didn't think about doing A, or I didn't think about doing B. So honestly, community, besides the initial anger, they're all very nice people. I don't know how to deal with confrontation properly. I remember specifically, too, the one time I was at my local arcade, and I was playing some Accent Core, Guilty Gear Accent Core. They didn't have, Accent Core Plus. So, another history lesson, I have been playing since, Guilty Gear X2, and I went back to play Guilty Gear X beforehand. So, at this point, and this was, maybe a couple years ago, my Accent Core gameplay is insane. So there's some dude at the arcade, and I'm playing against him, and I know, he put in his credits, he's playing the game and stuff, and I, destroy this guy. And I, felt bad, right? Because I don't know if some guy just came and he just wanted to play in the arcade machine for a bit. So I didn't really think about, how insulting this could have been perceived, but, I walked over to the guy, I'm like, hey, you can, take my arcade round if you want, come and use my machine. And I kind of he was like, no, I'm okay. And I just, kind of left it at that, went to go keep playing. And then, I thought about it, later, I do with every conversation I have with people. I'm like, dude, that was probably really rude on my behalf, but it's also kind of really funny because I don't know how to handle these situations. So, point being, I'm incredibly good at Tony Hawk. So, what we're going to talk about today is Pro Skater HD. So, I think what we should first do is kind of look at some differences in physics and stuff, but before we get there, let's give a little history lesson on what this is. So, raise your hand. Who here knows who Robomoto is? Yeah, thank you for actually doing that at home. So, obviously, anybody that knows who Robomoto is probably really doesn't appreciate how they massacred the Tony Hawk's franchise. And I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to say, I don't really think what happened with the Tony Hawk's franchise was entirely Robomoto's fault. I really don't. So here's the deal. Who's aware of Shred and Ride, the games that had the skateboard peripheral? I do have those, And if I can figure out a way to like maybe get like a wireless mic that I can like wear, I will definitely talk about Shred and Ride. But, I don't know how to stand on a skateboard and hook up, my actual normal real mic and talk about it with good audio quality because I'd probably be having to move and do all this kind of stuff while playing the game. But if I can figure that out sometime, I will talk about Shred and Ride because I have played an extensive amount of Shred and Ride. So, they're the ones that made Shred and Ride. And those did very, very poorly. And it's probably due to also like the oversaturation of like the market of having peripherals for your games, like Guitar Hero and Rock Band and all that other junk. So those games aren't that great, but they're also like an interesting time capsule because I did not get those for like full price or anything. Don't get me wrong, but I did buy Pro Skater 5 at full price day one. No, not full price. It was disc. I'm going to talk about Pro Skater 5 like next time, but not today. So Robomotor also made Pro Skater 5 though. So after Shred and Ride and Tony Hawk franchise is doing very poorly, they're like, okay, we need to go back to basics. We need to do Pro Skater HD. And I am the biggest Pro Skater 1 and 2 fan, like on the planet, for sure. I like Pro Skater 1 through 3, like more than I do like Underground and Underground 2 and stuff like that. And I know a lot of people love Underground 2, and I've played a ton of Thug Pro and stuff. The stuff's incredible. I love how it plays and stuff, but I still think like 1 and 2, I still enjoy those more, at least the levels. And so stuff like 1+2 with a lot of the more advanced options that were in like Underground 2, having that applied to all the 1 and 2 levels was literally like the perfect combination of stuff for me, and I think for a lot of other people too. So, yeah, I'm a huge fan of all the older Pro Skater games specifically. So, when this was announced, obviously, I was very excited for it. Me and my brother, we played the Pro Skater games and all the Tony Hawk games, like, a lot. So, obviously, excited for this. And, we got it on the PS3, and we played it, like, quite a bit. And I don't think, back then, being younger, we understood, like, the quality of everything necessarily. Honestly, I question some of my brother's taste to this day. So, if we're talking in terms of technical stuff, the 360 and PS3 version, one of their biggest problems was that they were only 30 FPS. And to me, Tony Hawk games are like fighting games, they're like rhythm games. I never want to play one at 30 FPS. I at least want some semblance that I can hit buttons when I need to hit buttons. So, Tony Hawk at 30 FPS, it's not for me. However, I understand 100% the technical decisions behind that kind of stuff. They literally probably couldn't have gotten it running at 60 FPS on the PS3 and 360 with at least like the visual style they were going for and stuff. And it could have been a CPU limitation. I don't know. Honestly, I would love to talk to some of the developers about the behind the scenes with like Pro Skater HD, but I know most people, at least on the internet, really don't like Robomoto, and I don't think anybody would be willing to talk about what happened during this dark time. But like honestly, I'd be really interested to know some of what was going on at the time. So, in regards to the PC version that we have right here, like every other version, it is delisted. I was lucky enough to get it before it was delisted. I technically got it after it was delisted, but there was like a fully functional code on Amazon that I was able to buy and just like, redeem through Steam, and it's just like, the files are still on Steam servers, so I was still able to play this game, and it's probably due to like music licensing and all that kind of junk. So PC version, it can run at 60 FPS, not 120 or anything, we're not that lucky, but it does run at 60. And so this was made in Unreal Engine 3. And so let's talk a little bit about like some of the choices behind this game. So let's go into I'm spoiling things a little bit there. Alright, so they have, obviously, real-life Pro Skaters and stuff. They have all this junk. Oh, you see, even though my nice, fast SSD, that even the textures aren't loading that quickly. That's incredible. That's the power of Unreal 3 right there. And then, with the DLC, we had Trujillo and Hetfield. Now, I'm a big Metallica fan. I'm a big fan of, like, Infectious Grooves and the other band that I shall not name because of YouTube words. And then, there's some secret skaters. We had Officer Dick right here. This is my favorite. We have, like, low polygonal Tony Hawk that's supposed to be kind of like the Pro Skater 2 Tony Hawk. I love this. I genuinely, I really, really enjoy this. I wish something like this wasn't 1+2, but I do like, like the Alien and Jack Black Officer Dick. I do think those are really fun choices. You got Bum Guy, Ollie the Bum, and look at that, you got Roberta Moda, which is like Robomoto's like mascot. So best character, you got low poly Tony Hawk. That's what I'm here for. I love older stuff. I wouldn't want to say retro because the more I say retro, the older I start to feel. People would probably consider this game to be retro at this point, and I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk about it. Anything that's like above 720p is no longer retro. I'm going to say that right now. You can fight me. PS3 and 360, they're not retro. I don't even consider the Wii retro. And then I also realized that if you're talking about it in terms of like 360 was like 05, that was 19 years ago, and I really do not want to talk about it. So it's got a nice roster of characters. This is the same problem with like talking about like a wrestling game. Like you want to say like, oh, they got Cody Rhodes. I love him. I want to play as Cody Rhodes. And it's like, yeah, we're talking about a wrestling persona and he's a character in a video game, but like these are also like real people. And it's weird to say like, oh, they have like my favorite characters like Tony Hawk and Rodney Mullen. And it's like, that's strange because they're not fictional people, but they're also, characters in a video game. So, but then obviously like that's just a character. Would you call this just like a fictional character at this point? I don't. Oh, he's got like a sweet like bio too. How do I pull up the bio? There we go. Found on a secret server storing important world data such as video of the first flight, proof of alien existence, and the real reason internet cat videos are so popular was Tony Hawk, arguably the most famous video game character of all time. He's back in his original form. No, he ain't. That is not the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 model. The way this monumental gaming series started, and is going to show these reskinned, up-res punks how things are done with only 200 polys, showing that standard definition is the new high definition. Hometown, CD-ROM, created 99. Genuinely, though, I love that. That's really cute. That's really fun. I really enjoy that. So, that's kind of like the roster, and obviously we're going to pick the best character, right? So, this is still like, like Pro Skater 1 and 2. You can buy your stats, I believe you can buy you can buy specials and stuff like that. You can buy skateboard. Oh, you get different costumes when you beat like the career mode with them. So, there is, was there different boards? There was different boards. Right. So there's different boards as well. That's what I thought. So, what, yeah, because he has like that board he had in Pro Skater 2. So what do we got? We got different game modes too. We got the normal career, which is exactly what it sounds like. We had single session, which is less you play for 2 minutes and get a high score. Free skate. Hawkman. I actually like Hawkman a lot. It's like there's these dots all around the map, and you either have to like grind on them, manual on them, wall ride on them, just be in the air for them. And it's like you get better scores if you do them in a certain time limit, so it's kind of just figuring out like an optimal line to do. I actually think this game was really cool. Big Head Survival, you have to keep doing tricks and landing tricks and stuff so your head doesn't go pop. This game mode's like okay. I don't think it's like incredible, but it's not bad. Projectives. This is what I wish more of the games would have. It's just like, I think you have like 1 minute instead of 2, or like a minute 15, I don't exactly remember. And it's just like harder goals, and you have to get like higher scores, and they put like more difficult collectibles, I believe, and stuff like that. It's still super incredibly easy to me, but it's, it's a step in the right direction. And okay, so here's the big thing about this game. It's got a fair chunk of levels, not as many as like, if we pop up 1+2 again, we have literally every level from 1 and 2 as far as like the normal like PS1 and Dreamcast versions. They do not have like the Hoffman factory from N64 Pro Skater 2 or anything from like 2X on the Xbox. But that's a very, very nice roster of levels. So there we go. So this has Warehouse, the best level in Tony Hawk history. You can't argue with me because obviously you already know that I'm the best Tony Hawk player ever, and by ever I mean maybe top 100. no, I will not be humble about this. You got the hangar, first level of Pro Skater 2. You have the mall from Pro Skater 1. Honestly, not my favorite level. I'm not, like, crazy over this level. I don't really like the straight line levels like Downhill Jam. Not the hugest fan. I don't dislike them. It's just this is definitely more of the initial design of, like, the Pro Skater 1 beta, which I'm definitely going to talk about at some point. That beta is incredibly interesting. You have Venice from Pro Skater 2. This is one of the best Tony Hawk levels, like, period. Downhill Jam. No, I don't like Downhill Jam. I am really upset when I was over at my brother's last time and he made me do, like, the horse stuff in Downhill Jam because he was trying to thwart my awesome Tony Hawk powers. Marseille, is that how you pronounce that? Pro Skater 2 competition level. So then, this game also had DLC. Of course it did. This is Activision we're talking about. And it was called the Revert Pack. And it had 3 levels from Pro Skater 3, along with having, even though this makes not a lick of sense when we're talking about Pro Skater 3 stuff, along with having James Hetfield and Robert Trujillo. Very strange, but I also, like I said, I like those guys as musicians a lot, so I'm not necessarily going to complain, but it is a strange choice. And if you're not into Metallica and you weren't into the bands Trujillo was in, it's like, why do I want these guys? But like, for me, I like them. And so it's called the Revert Pack, right? I think it was like $5, and the main game was like 15, if I'm remembering right. So it's not like this was an expensive game. You had Canada, you had Airport, and Los Angeles. These are all honestly great levels, and Airport, I think, is one of the better, straight line kind of levels because there's some deviations to it that aren't too bad, and like quite a few of them. And it's not like the level like ends. You're not like put in a zone where it like resets or puts you back in the beginning. It's still kind of a functional level. Canada's a fine enough level. This is more so based on the the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox versions of Canada and Pro Skater 3, not the N64 and PS1 version of Canada. I should say it's the same with all 3 of these levels, but Canada on the N64 and PS1 had like a lot more differences that, if I'm remembering correctly. Honestly, I've played more of that version than I have like the next-gen versions of Pro Skater 3, but I still played those like a lot too. So, there is something very suspicious about these level choices. And I wonder if anybody else who played this at the time kind of figured this out. This is all stuff that was in like, not in like 2X or 3 or 4, and I don't know if they like shifted engines a bit. I don't think they were still using renderware by the time they got to Underground. But this is all stuff that was in like Underground 2. Maybe one of these is from like American Wasteland and Classic Mode, and I'm not quite remembering. But all of these already existed in a slightly updated form in like at least Underground 1 and 2. And I always thought that was really suspicious, the fact that, like when I was younger, I was like, oh man, I wish I had like Roswell or Streets or something. And I always thought it was a bit strange that it didn't, but like looking back on it, I really think they were just able to get easy functional access to like the Underground stuff and just use that as a template for what to use for this game. And in that regards, they're kind of lucky that there is so many classic levels in those games, but it's also incredibly suspicious to me that there's nothing else that's actually like from 1, 2, and 3, that it's like all levels that are already like ported over into newer Tony Hawk games. So I think there's definitely something to that. I swear I remember them talking about how, they had like original code and they're like referencing that or using that as a basis or something. Now, in regards to that, I could have sworn the way it was phrased was that they were talking about like physics, which no. So maybe it was something to do with like level geometry and stuff. Now, granted, they obviously redid all the texture work completely, and it's a brand new engine, lighting engine, and all this. Brand new engine. It's Unreal 3, but you have to put a ton of work in to make it your own and usable and stuff like that. So, here's the thing with Robomoto, right? So, they worked on some pretty bad Tony Hawk games, and this is kind of no exception. However, they were only like a mobile game developer, right? And then Activision hired them to start working on the Tony Hawk stuff. After Endeavorsoft like essentially got like dissolved, especially after the Guitar Hero burnout and all that. So I'm thinking Activision was pulling a what can we do for the cheapest amount of money that's a cash grab to people that were really disillusioned with like Ride and Shred. So let's hire a cheap developer there, mobile game developer, Robomoto. Let's give them no time frame, and let's give them like just reused assets so they can start doing something cheap and quick. So there's only so much of this that I want to blame on Robomoto, because it's more like they were just doing their job kind of thing, and I feel like a lot of video game mistakes and screw-ups and bad launches and releases, it's not coming down to the development teams like at all. This is like 95% of the time, this is business decisions. Like, trust me, I believe the people working at Robomoto, they probably would have wanted to make the best Tony Hawk product they could have, but I guarantee they had neither the time, nor budget, nor resources, nor know-how to even start on a project like that. So there is some pretty glaring omissions to something like Pro Skater HD. To me, like I said, with the middle brother in my family who played a lot of these games, something we did a lot was like the split screen stuff. There's no split screen in this game, not even on the PC version. Again, at the time, I understand why it might not have been on like the console releases, because again, hardware limitations and stuff like that. But yeah, not even on the PC. There was online play, only on the console releases, not on the PC releases. This is awful, honestly. So there's no, by the time, if you're just playing this on PC, there's no co-op, there's no split screen, there's nothing like that. It's not, you literally just like can't play with people anymore. That is a big draw of Tony Hawk to me. I love playing with my friends, I love playing with my brother, I love playing Tony Hawk with people, I love playing games with people. It's a very social thing for me a lot of the time. So there's nothing like that. The other big glaring omission to me is that there's no park editor. That's something else I had a lot of fun with growing up. I'm a little less into it nowadays. I just don't really want to spend the time making a good park. But like, you know, it's nice to see what kind of parks people are making online and play them in like 1+2 and stuff like that. So there's no park editor. I would have loved that when this came out, but there's nothing like that either. So this is definitely like a budget title. There's only so much, you know, they could reasonably do. So before we actually get into playing and talking about the game, let's go back to 1+2 for a second here. So I cannot tell you the amount of input lag I have looking through my capture cards, display stuff on OBS trying to play this right now. This is genuinely awful. But okay, so here's like let's say like some main line I might try to do while I have maybe 8 frames of input lag. So, you know, you might start, just get rid of your lip stuff, that way you can get a little bit of I literally couldn't even land the revert. Okay, we're not gonna pretend, because I'm the best Tony Hawk player. This is honestly nearly unplayable. Okay, revert, we're gonna do that. Get up here, then start going over here, doing this. Oh my god, I didn't mean to go to that third one. This is awful. Oh my god. Okay, middle one. Oh my god. I'm trying so hard. Oh my god. But that is the general gist of things, right? Like, I try to get some lip tricks just from the multiplier. Then you want to get to, like, these first two. But then you want to get over here and not do that. But once you get over here, you can kind of, you know, go over that. And then just keep repeating it, essentially. That's kind of the main general goal that you want to do as far as getting score in this level, right? No, I can't tell you how rough this is. Plus, like, usually I use, like, the 120 hertz mode on this, which cannot do that with my capture. Oh, let's go! Best Tony Hawk player. Okay, so that's my general line. That's what I like to do. I straight up stole most of that from Andy Thipps. I watched his guides on this kind of stuff. So that's the general idea, right? So I actually haven't tried to do that in HD because I've only recently gone back to this just for funsies. So we're going to talk about how the physics in 1+2, if you want to call it like physics, that's the kind of the best approximation I can think of calling, like, it is kind of like a physics engine, it is, but like the general feel of the gameplay. 1+2, amazing. I would say it's not at all faithful to how 1 and 2 is, but it really shouldn't be. 1 and 2 are very serviceable and very fun games, but there is like next to no combo potential in those, right? So I still think they play great for what they are, don't get me wrong, but it's like you do kind of get a little spoiled by the amount of options in later Tony Hawk games, and it's nice to have kind of like a refined version of those options in 1 and 2 levels, right? Now, granted, that's not to say I'm not crazy at old Tony Hawk 2. I remember playing 2X with my friends and my brother, and I remember my one friend, he's like, you know what? I'm going to pick an empty park, like, you know, like the empty creative park, and I want to see what you can do in that. And I still did amazingly well just by relying on manuals and wall rides and stuff. So, but yeah, that's not to say that, you know, 1 plus 2 is like peak Tony Hawk as far as how it controls, even though it's not faithful to 1 and 2, I'd say. So, one of the first things, granted, those are both full stack characters, right? So, this game is so, like, floaty and slow almost, but, like, I can't describe how, like, floaty that it's like. It's almost like you got like the gravity of the moon, you know? It's like very floaty, very slow to fall and stuff like that. Landing does not feel good. It really does. Like, I feel like sometimes some of the not necessarily the geometry, but what is like the physical parts of the geometry like don't okay, what's the word? Like they're not physically blocking you properly. God, that's still not the right terminology. Basically, you clip through the geometry a lot when there should be stuff to stop you from doing that. You know, you would think that I don't know about the technical specifications of video games. I really do, I promise you, but I cannot find my words today. So, this is very floaty feeling. This is kind of awful. And I realized earlier, I didn't finish my sentence. As you see, I'm doing reverts. That's something they added with the DLC, but I think you could still download like an update if you didn't buy the DLC to at least have access to the reverts. I do think reverts are necessary in Tony Hawk, because especially if you go back to like 1 and 2, all the street stuff is just way better than vert, and reverts definitely kind of help to balance out the applicability of both street and revert, instead of just street just being way better than vert, not revert, but yes. So, this does have revert if you have the DLC or downloaded, like, the patch or whatever. So, it is so like that. Okay, there is so much of this where, like, you go to grind on a rail, and as you probably noticed, like, in the beginning, like, you're not on top of the rail, right? And this isn't just, like, a visual bug. There's, like, actually something wrong with the collision. There we go. That's kind of the word I'm looking for, collision. There's actually something wrong with the collision where a lot of times if you start grinding like in the middle of the rail like that, and it's no fault of your own, right? It's no fault of your own. Well, you're just gonna like hit the actual collision of the rail on top and just like bail. And it's 100% not your fault. I remember that happens a lot in Downhill Jam with like the upper rails near the secret tape area, and you just get blasted by that rail, and there's nothing you can do about it because you're just like grinding in the middle of it and hit a different point of collision. So you definitely don't like magnetize the rails properly, and you get some really weird physics interactions going on with that. Okay, so what can we do as far as line wise? Okay. Now I tried to lip. I straight up did. I honestly... Okay. There is no... Okay, you get one lip. Alright, fine. Oh, goodness. No, we're gonna do this. We're gonna see how applicable this is. Okay. Okay, we got one lip. That's all we can do. Get our revert going on. We got a manual. Okay. We're going. We're good. That's right. There's no wall planting. I forgot about that. And what was that interaction? Was that just because I hit the wall? Wait, seriously though, was that just because like I touched the wall? What? Oh, this is actually... I'll be honest. What was that? See what I mean? Like, I just hit like weird collision and just bailed immediately. Look, I'll be honest. I was coming into this this morning thinking like, you know what? I'm going to be defending this game. I think this game's actually kind of fun. It's not as buggy as people are talking about. I'm starting to think I might have to retract some of my earlier statements. No, that is okay. Can I at least do like half of this? Okay, say I go up here, right? We get that, manual. I don't know. Can I chalk it up to physics, or is that like a me issue? Okay, so there, going. What on earth is this? Okay, and like honestly, like the speed seems like off. You seem like so slow, even with full stats. Honestly, okay, this time for real. I'm really determined to do this line now, just to say, hey, this game's not so bad. Okay, come on, there we go. We're going. Ooh, this is like not seemingly possible. Okay, we're going. We're doing this. Come on, we're going. We're good. Oh, this is genuinely like painful to play. Okay. And maybe I shouldn't have booted up 1+2 at all to make any sort of comparisons. Okay, we're going. Yo. Okay. I tried to revert. I really did, honestly, and I feel like I should have been able to. Okay. That's not terrible, right? You know. Okay. So one thing I will say, and I've always thought this, even with like the 360 and PS3 release, right? I do think visually, I think this game honestly looks really good. I think the texture work, and granted, I'm not talking about how... Are you... Oh my god. I'm not talking about how detailed low poly Tony is right here, but I love this. Honestly, I'd play a whole game that looks like this, straight up. You know, people make jokes like, no, you wouldn't actually play a game that looks that bad. Yes, I would, and I still play games from that... I'll play a Famicom game. The graphics do not stop me. Okay, so I do think like the texture work on the levels and stuff, it looks really good. I think the lighting's nice. The texture works honestly like really good to me. These levels look gorgeous, like straight up. I'm not trying to be like contrarian or haha funny. I think this game looks really good. I think Robomoto did a great job on this. Now, if this was Activision's decision being cheap nowadays, it probably would just be like all like AI upscale textures and no actual work put into it. But no, like genuinely, I think this stuff looks good. Even there's some like, I don't know if that's any sort of real-time shadows going on, but we're at least getting fake moving shadows and stuff through like the fan up there. Like this is honestly, this is a good. Did you see how I was grinding through the side of the ramp? That's incredible. Okay, but like, yeah, we're going. We're doing things. We're going. Oh, I feel like. See, sometimes I feel like it's. So, why is the sound effect still going? That's really awesome. Super cool. Oh wait, we're doing things. Okay, we're not doing things. Okay, so like visually, I think this game looks really good. Honestly, it really does. So, the physics though, it's so like temperamental, and I honestly remembered it being a little better. But here's the thing that I don't even... Oh, look, we got, like, real-time physics with the, like, what do you call that? It's like a thing to stop you from walking over construction. What is a barrier? See? It's actually, like moving. And obviously these do, too. No, they don't. They just break. Is there any form of physics attached to that? Yeah, okay, like, when they break apart. Yeah, for sure. But see, we got, like, that going on, right? Right? So, there's some physics stuff. Good lighting, good textures. Very iffy gameplay. So here's what I was saying. It's like, when this game works, it works fairly well. But it's very, like, off and on. Whether, like, why did I trigger that? I hit the bottom of it. That's really awesome. I love that. But it's like there's so many things in regards to like grinding and wall riding that feels so off, and it feels like you're getting like weirdly magnetized to the wrong things. Because I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering right, when you're playing like Underground 2, that you do get like magnetized to rails a bit, where you kind of like home in on rails, but just to like that. See, what was that? But like So you get like magnetized to rails to kind of like help you keep combos going and make you feel like you're doing cool stuff. And it's not noticeable enough where it feels like the game's playing itself. I mean, if you played Tony Hawk, you can attest to that. Like, you can easily screw up so well. But this feels like almost there's either none of that going on or like too much of it in the wrong direction going on. It's like I feel like I can do the same thing twice, like same exact type of line twice, and get different results, because I genuinely do think sometimes you just get different results depending on if you clip into the wall too much or clip into the middle of the ramp too much. And why is the reaction to hitting a wall like that on top of it? That seems excessive, because like, see, I feel like I should be able to like wall right off of that, but like there's no like course correction. Like, there's nothing I can do about that, you know? Granted, like, I know what I'm supposed to do. Okay, I do some of this, and then I'm like, I'll just like stop myself before it gets worse. But yeah, it's like once you dedicate yourself to like a line, there's like what wall ride was that? I barely. I was trying to wall ride it, but I just like went on and off. What is this? What is this? So this game's physics and collision detection are all sorts of wonky. But here's the thing. There is like 100% like something wrong with my brain, because even after saying all of that, I still find this game like fun. I don't think it plays that bad. In fact, I would argue, especially before the last patch of Pro Skater 5, when you had to slam down when you press the grind button, I'd argue that this plays even better than Pro Skater 5. Now, I'm surprised I didn't crash there. So, playing better than Pro Skater 5 is without a doubt the lowest bar imaginable, and I get that. Don't get me wrong, I understand. That doesn't mean anything. I probably can't think of many games that are technically like worse than that. Like maybe E.T. on the Atari, but you don't want to be in the same category as that. What is going on? Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Here's what I want to try to do. You saw what I did. If we want to, make another comparison, we pull up this, and if we look at again like end run, and we look at look, there's my best combo. 21 million was my best combo. So we look at, I got 35 million in warehouse, 2 minutes, right? How much do you think I can get in warehouse in Pro Skater HD? That's what I want to try next, all right? And then we're going to talk a little bit more about the levels and stuff, all right? So we are going to get back to this. We're going to end our run. And then we're going to go to level select and see what we can do. All right, so all I have to do is get about 35 million in Pro Skater HD. I think I could do that. No, not really. I guess, you know what? We're going to make predictions. We're going to make predictions right now. I bet I could get... I don't like... Because, like, I could get, like, a random collision error, glitch. I don't even know if it's a glitch, just random collision shenanigans. Ooh, because I don't want to be, like, too modest. 3 million. Okay. Let's see what kind of damage I can do. I'll talk about the music, too. So, music, it's kind of the same thing that's going on. Why did that let me continue after that really poor revert? So, it's got a lot of the old songs in here, and in the DLC, it's got some Metallica songs, like All Nightmare Long, and it's like, like 7 minutes long. And then it's got some, besides the Metallica stuff, some other new songs, and I think, in my opinion, now music is super subjective, but I think, and it's honestly the same problem I'd say in 1+2, that all the new music completely contrasts with like the vibe of the original songs, but that's not to say that it's bad music. Like, I don't like some of it, I think kind of jams. I like it. I really do. But I feel like it's really ill-fitting, and I don't like the fact that, like, in this, because I'm pretty sure in 1+2 you can toggle what songs you want. I think you can. No, I could be wrong. But that in this, no, it's just like either you're... I really am not a fan of that. That you can't talk. It's just like you're either listening to the music or you're not. And like I said, like I think like the Metallica stuff almost fits. But maybe they shouldn't have used Death Magnetic material. But I understand why they did, because at the time that was... Oh, I thought that was going to end way worse. That was, like, topical. But, like, if they would have put in something from, like... oh, no, you know what? Metallica in the 90s. Was that Load and Reload? Was that when that was happening? Because if so, then I immediately take that back. Never mind. You know what? All Nightmare Long's fine. I'll take All Nightmare Long over anything off of Load and Reload. Ooh. I said 3 million trying to be conservative. Oh, no. Oh, that's not good. That is not good. Was that my best score? I hope that wasn't my best score. Wait, is it even saving my single session scores? Look. Okay. Give me another go at this. I got this. 3 million. It's possible. I keep wanting to default to the lines I do in 1+2, but like you can't. Okay. Maybe I should do a little... I shouldn't have done the same trick again. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of that. A little bit of that. Okay, if I can get some, like... Okay, you know what? Not terrible. I do like how in 1+2, you get special as you start comboing. Ooh! Genuinely, that was very good on my behalf. Okay, I'm asking for trouble. Nice. Okay, 1.2. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of that. Oh, this is risky. Oh, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Oh no, I can feel a hyperfixation starting. That like I feel the need to at least get 3 million on this. Okay. We'll do a little bit of that. Okay. A little bit of that. It's just these grinds are like a death sentence. Wasn't Death Sentence the name of Vincent's ultimate weapon in Final Fantasy VII? Is that right? Death Penalty? Death Sentence? What was it? I don't know. Okay. That's might not be helpful. I'm losing speed very fast. Oh, yeah, like, the momentum of your speed feels unbelievably inconsistent. It's like, honestly, a really apt comparison. It's like Sonic Adventure momentum, where it's like, it feels like it's either all or nothing, and sometimes you go slow when you shouldn't, and fast when you also probably shouldn't. It's like your acceleration is either a snail's pace or the fastest thing possible. So, that's almost 2 million. Before I get too fixated, if I was like actually like streaming this, I would keep going. But this is an actual honest-to-God YouTube video, so let's not do that. So, there's a specific thing I want to talk about. So we're going to go back to Freescape. We're going to go to the dreaded downhill jam. So, this goes along with the collision problems I was talking about, right? And I'm kind of hoping it's just as bad as I remember, but yeah, I remember particularly the one rail by the secret tape area was like, honestly, probably the best example for how borked the collision detection in this game. Sometimes I remember that rail being, and maybe that's the rail I'm thinking of, is it? Okay, that went well. It's usually that rail that I'm getting some really weird okay, it's still, trust me, this is like burned into my brain that I'd be always like grinding under it, and like whenever you try to like ollie off of it, you would just crash. Ooh, I'm getting like so lucky, and that's kind of unfortunate, and I really shouldn't have to be talking about like luck in a Tony Hawk game as far as, you know, getting it to be able to detect the rail physics properly, but oh man, I'm making a fool out of myself. Yeah, honestly, this is going too well, but I swear you've seen it in Warehouse that usually that railing does not go very well. Okay. before we end things off, I think it would be really fun to try to replicate another one of my high scores, just to kind of make more comparisons to how much more poorly this game plays in comparison. So, okay, it does not have school, unfortunately. So let me look at comparisons. We have, and I want to talk about the Pro Skater 3 levels for a second too. Don't get me wrong, because like I have mall and skate park. Like, okay, I wish it had first games downtown. I do like this level a lot. It doesn't have Roswell. The hangar, 10 million. Not the best score, not the worst score. Okay, perfect. That's a Pro Skater 2 level, anyways. So now, okay, that was 10 million. All right, I guess I should be a little more realistic. I'm gonna say, yeah. I'm gonna say I bet I could get 2 million in this in the incredible Pro Skater HD fit. So there's something else that's weird about this game, and I'm gonna restart this run. If you hold on to the Ollie button before the run starts, it you can't let go of it in Ollie. It doesn't register that the input is happening, and you have to actually let go and then repress the A button. I know that doesn't sound like a big deal, but it kind of is, because I'm geared to just hold on to A from the get-go, and it makes it very weird. You gotta wait a second, and then see, now I can start pressing buttons. It's very strange. It's very strange. Oh, come on. Let's go. I have no momentum. Wait, we'll make this work. See, I feel like I should have been able to wall ride there. Are you kidding me? Oh, some of that, I guess, I guess it's my fault. See, this is really, I feel like I should have gotten a wall ride there. Oh, 48,000. Oh, this is embarrassing. I also very much so like the trick extensions that were in starting in Pro Skater 3 that are in 1+2. When you grind in this, you're just doing that one grind until you ollie and do something else. It's not like you can double tap Y or YX or something and get something different going on. I'm risking it for the biscuit too much right now. Okay, that's not bad. That's still a pitiful amount for my skill level. Yeah, I got what, 10 million? 10 million? And honestly, I don't think that 10 million was me really trying. I think that was me just trying to get scores for it might have been the boards. Oh yeah, those fancy boards you can get in 1+2. The 35 million warehouse was me actually just, going bananas on it. Okay, I was not done with that combo, thank you very much. I really wasn't. Again, the texture work and the lighting, I really do like it. Now, obviously, it's got nothing on 1+2, but, that was a whole generation ahead. That is so emblematic of how this game feels to play. Okay. Okay, so you let me collect myself here. Okay, so it's would I recommend playing this game nowadays if you can somehow get access to it? I honestly, I do think it's a shame that you can't easily get access to this kind of stuff. This is going to be a little bit of a side tangent, but I am 100% for the preservation of video games through whatever means you have to take in order to do so. Video games are an art form like anything else. Good, bad, anything in between. Okay, we'll take my favorite movie of all time, and I'm not joking. I love The Room. I have a signed autograph of Tommy Wiseau, okay? So I objectively, obviously that movie's not good. However, it's so weird and bad that it's an integer overflow. It rounds back to being good again. And it's like it genuinely it's my favorite movie. It's such an interesting like case study in how to like not make a movie so much so that it becomes a fascinating watch. It's like compared to like a normal bad movie where to me the worst thing a book, a game, a movie can be is boring. And something like a generic bad like horror movie or something, honestly we seem to get a lot of those nowadays. They're just like, oh man, that was boring. And that's the worst thing a piece of art could be. Something like The Room is amazing. Is you cannot watch that for the first time and guess what the dialogue is going to be, how characters are going to react, how the acting quality is going to be. You cannot guess any of that. But if it's something boring, it's like, it's all expected. It's all just okay, and that's not great. I think that applies to video games as well, right? Think about how many people, and I just did it earlier without even really thinking about it. Think about how many people bring up like ET on the Atari. That was 2600, right? Not 5200. How many people bring that up? And that again is historically, like literally historically significant, and a lot of times is used as sort of a catalyst to explain the video game crash of that era, at least in like America. And if we didn't have easy access to play it and to talk about it and get footage of it and all that stuff, that would be a huge part of like programming and video game history just like down the drain. And this stuff is very historically important in numerous ways. It's just like, again, if we can look back on ET, we can talk about, okay, here's as an industry what we should never do again. This is one of the biggest lessons, to never recreate what caused the crash to happen. And ET's like the poster child for that. If we couldn't talk about stuff like Superman 64. I'm trying to think of other bad games, but like I enjoy a lot of quote unquote like bad games. Not ET though, not Superman 64. Those are both genuinely not good games. But these are important to preserve regardless. And in stuff like, less so with like comic book related games, but especially with like licensed games. And Tony Hawk kind of falls into those lines a bit because of all the licensed music. We tend to lose this stuff due to copyright holders, like changing hands and not wanting to renew license fees and all that kind of stuff. And then we start to lose part of our history as to what video games were doing at the time and what kind of, when you look at Tony Hawk and you look at like Pro Skater 1 and 2, right? The music used during those is a really good time capsule of what was happening in like 99 and like 2000 and stuff. And it's a shame that it's so hard to get a hold of half of these like license fees and stuff like that, and license rights even. Sometimes it's hard to even track down the companies that own a license to like a song or a game or whatever. I know there's cases of games, and I wish I could remember what it was off the top of my head there, where it's like they literally can't figure out who owns the rights to like a certain game and can't even begin to touch like re-releasing it because of that. Things just got dissolved so much, or changed hands and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you look at you pop in Pro Skater 1 and it's like you hear Goldfinger and you hear Primus and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, that is what was happening in like the late 90s, right? Same thing if you put in like Underground 2. There's stuff on there like Lamb of God, and it's like you can hear what was happening during that era too. And something like Pro Skater HD is the same thing. It's like you have some of the classic songs, but then you have songs that might have been more popular during like when was this one? Was this like maybe like 2010 or something? Or yeah, something like that. Honestly, when was this? Was this maybe? Yeah, I want to say like 2010, maybe 2009, something along those lines. And because of licensing, we can't just like buy this game anymore. And this goes back to, now I'm not saying this game's like incredible, but this definitely applies to stuff like 1 and 2, or all the Tony Hawk games. Trust me, like I think so many people, if you like released a collection of like the Underground games or 1 through 4 or something, like just like straight up like a collection of them, like porting the PC ports or something, or emulating them, I think a lot of people would buy those. I think a lot of people would play those, like, or especially you look at like digital storefronts. If you could buy like if you could buy Underground 2 for like $20 or something, or like download like the Xbox port on the Series X or something and play through backwards compatibility at like 4K and stuff, I think people would buy that in a heartbeat. I know I would, or if I could like actually just like stick in my disc and play it. But because of licensing, we get trapped in these scenarios where it's like the only way to preserve something, it's through piracy, straight up. We have to crack copy protections in order to preserve games, and it shouldn't be this way. And I feel like the trajectory of going more and more away from physical is causing the same issues to happen. And it just sucks that, like, maybe like 100 years from now, it might be like nearly impossible for somebody to like play Pro Skater HD, because like this is already a game not a lot of people care about. And what if somebody loses access to the PS3 files or the 360 files or the PC files because people aren't preserving this kind of stuff? And, again, I'm not saying this is like a good game, but this is what we're talking about today. And like, yeah, what if like, oh, what was the Tony Hawk franchise doing 50 years ago or something? And, because there's stuff that I'm into that was around before I was even born, right? Like, especially when you look at music. Like, I wasn't around when, like, Bowie was making music, or even, like, a lot of Tom Petty stuff. But I'm very much into that, And I feel like the same could be said for video games, too, right? There's going to be stuff, like our grandkids are going to be, like, looking back, and they might want to play something that we played in 2006 or something. Like, I've still listened to questionable music from, 60 years ago or something, right? It's like, even poor and bad art deserves preservation, so we can look back at, a time period isn't only what's good. And I feel like for music, a lot of people get stuck in this headspace that's like, oh, my generation had the best music. No, my generation had the best music. It's like, all our generations had bad music, right? But we're only remembering what we enjoyed and what was good. And I think it's really important for a well-rounded experience to also remember what was bad or even mediocre in that sense. And I can't believe I'm getting this serious and deep when I'm talking about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD, but I'm really serious about this. This is something that I want to come back to when I'm an old man and be like, oh man, how was that Pro Skater HD doing? You know what I mean? Or something that I'd want to share with other people in the future, right? So, I think preservation is really important. The Tony Hawk franchise, just like the Guitar Hero franchise, just like Rock Band, is so emblematic of licensing hell, essentially, where, 20 years... Well, the Tony Hawk franchise is experiencing right now, where, like, you cannot get any of the stuff digitally. Not like, you can't pay anybody so you can play Underground 2, right? Like, you have to get something that's third-party or buy a used disc or something like that, right? And it's a shame, because, like, some of the Tony Hawk games, I legitimately think, are some of, like, the best, most finely crafted games, like, ever made. Like, straight up, like, Underground 2 is going to be a good game forever, I think. Like, straight up. I really do think so. I'm not saying, like, the story mode is going to hold up forever, but, like, the gameplay, the level design, all that's, like, really incredible, and there's no reason why, people wouldn't want to check it out 50 years from now, right? In that sense, preservation is important. I love Tony Hawk. Let's not end on such a downer, though. I want to talk about, should you be playing this game in current year? I think yes. I don't feel like this has nearly the amount of, like, overlap that something, like, I think a lot of people on the surface will look at this and be like, oh, just play 1+2. 1+2 is just better in every single way than this. And it is. It, like, genuinely, yeah, it is. You got your split screen, you got your functional online play, you got your created parks, you got every level from 1 and 2 as far as, like, the base PS1 versions. You have all of that. But then there's also, this game just plays entirely differently. It really does. No, it's not as good, but it plays entirely differently. You have the projectors and stuff. You have the Hawkman stuff. And then you straight up have, like, you got weird stuff like, oh, I want to play as, Robert Trujillo or James Hetfield or whatever, or I want to go to, sorry Canadians, we're going to airport, or you want to play some Pro Skater 3 levels and stuff, right? And it's like, these are good levels, they really are, and then you get them in a certain fashion of, that, obviously, this looks better than even the current gen versions of 3. And by current gen, I'm talking about, like, GameCube, PS2, Xbox, right? And No, I would say it doesn't play as solidly as 3, but in some ways it still is more modernized. This is gonna sound absolutely bad. I walked myself in a corner with that one. This is gonna sound crazy, is my whole point. But I would rather play this than play Pro Skater 3. I'll be honest. And I know that sounds really goofy and really silly, but like I genuinely would rather play this game over Pro Skater 3. I think there is something weirdly charming about this game's physics. There's something where, like, when things feel kind of heavy and things feel kind of weird, that I almost start to kind of like that. And it's like this weird thing with my brain, right? That when we look at something like, and I promise you that this is going somewhere, when we look at something like Resident Evil 4, and we look at all modern ports that you're playing it on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, whatever, PC obviously, you're playing Resident Evil 4 in 60 FPS, right? And I'm not talking about the remake, but also, yes, the remake targets a good frame rate too. So here's the thing. There's something about, like, when I was going through the 360 and PS3 ports of Resident Evil 4, the first HD ports, or we're talking about the GameCube version or the Wii version. Oh, I'm single sessioning? Oh, I didn't realize that's what I was doing. Ooh, now I'm on the spot. What are we gonna do? I meant to free skate. Ooh, we're gonna end off on a banger though. Come on. Genuinely, that was a good, completely off-the-cuff 14-second combo there. Let me go into free skate so I can keep talking. You know, you saw some Pro Skater HD Airport. I guess we can do Los Angeles or Canada. I'm just very partial to the airport. I'm sorry to realize. So when you're talking about old-gen Resident Evil 4, right? There is something about playing that game in 30 FPS, and I don't understand this. It's heavier, it controls worse. Like, obviously, you just have half the amount of frames to register your inputs and stuff like that. That, even though that's the case, I like it more. I like Resident Evil 4 more in 30 FPS. It feels, like, heavier and weightier and almost, like, less cheap. And it's the strangest thing. It's, like, objectively, if you've seen some of my older videos, right? I talk a lot about technical specifications, and I talk about resolutions and frame rates and hardware, and sometimes even frame timing. I'm talking about maybe something's delivering things in, like, you know, has bad frame pacing, delivering frames at the wrong time. It's like, and again, not to, like, try to, like, talk about how smart I am and all this kind of stuff, but it's like, I am very technically knowledgeable, only, you know, because this is, like, probably the thing in life that I'm the most interested in. I love technology, right? So you would think somebody like me especially, that I am the farthest thing from, like, a casual gamer. You think that I'd be like, no way, I'm never playing a game in 30 FPS for the rest of my entire life, right? But there is, like, these weird cases where it's like the jankier something is, or the weightier, or, like, the heavier the low frame rate makes it feel, that I kind of like it more, and I don't understand. Like, for a more modern example, I recently was able to finally play through the Demon Souls remake that Bluepoint did on the PS5. And objectively, you know, we're talking about PS3 version, terrible frame rate. I played that back in the day, right? And then, you know, the remake has options where you can play like 1440p, 60 FPS. That's amazing. That's great, because that game's like still like the best, one of the best looking like current gen games, like straight up. You look at that, and it's like, that's great. That's the mode that 95% of the people should probably choose when they play the game. It's the default mode. But then there's the 4K 30 FPS option, and it's heavier. You have half the amount of time to register your inputs. And I played through the entire game at 30 FPS and 4K. Straight up, not because I'm like a snob for resolution, because like I play a lot of things on my CRT that are running at 240p, right? But because for some reason I like Demon Souls better when it's running at 30 FPS, and I don't understand that. It's like the same thing for Dark Souls. I don't necessarily like them running at 60, and I don't know what that is. And maybe it's because I played Demon Souls on the PS3, I played Dark Souls on the 360 and stuff, or like Dark Souls 3, I played on Xbox One. Originally, I have like the PC ports, all the stuff now, and maybe it's because I got used to playing these types of games, like RE4 at 30 FPS. But again, it's like, for me, it's not even like a nostalgia thing, because like I said, I played Demon Souls Remake at 30 FPS, and I don't necessarily have nostalgia for a remake of a game. It's not like I have nostalgia for the RE4 remake just because I played RE4, right? And sometimes it's just like, when things are a little worse, and a little lower resolution, and a little worse frame rate, I tend to almost appreciate what's happening a little more. It's like, the rougher the edges of something are, is kind of something more interesting to talk about in these regards. And it's like the same reason why I think that I was so drawn to stuff like the Switch when it came out, and now I like, straight up, I do the majority of like my PC like gaming time as like a real gamer on my Steam Deck. I even dock to my TV, even though I have my desktop hooked up with a really long HDMI cable running across my ceiling, and I have it hooked up to my TV. I spend the majority of my time playing stuff on my Steam Deck, even if I'm playing like Dark Souls 3 at 900p. I don't know, I tend to like enjoy that stuff a little more. Like, the more flaws there are to something, the more of an appreciation I have for, quote unquote, the piece of art we're talking about. And that goes back to my love of stuff like The Room. If we're talking about, you buy a game, like, from a reputable company, not something like EA or something, and you buy like a game on the Series X or PS5, like, for the most part, whatever you buy, it's gonna run great, and it's gonna look great, and you're really not gonna have to worry about too much, for the most part, right? But then, okay, then I'm gonna play the same game on a Steam Deck or something. Okay, I might be running it at 900p, I might be running it at 720p, might be running it at 30 frames per second, and there's something to that I almost enjoy more, even being like a huge technical snob, I can't quite explain it, but I really do think it's just something like, I just really enjoy bad stuff sometimes. I really do. It's more interesting to talk about. If we were talking about Pro Skater HD today, and I'm like, okay, this game's incredible, what is there to talk about? That's it. Like, the statement's over. It's like if I tried to make a video on like Super Mario Bros. 3. What do you want me to say? The game's one of the best games ever made. Like, straight up. Like, I could talk about the history of development, but if we're talking about the game itself, it gets boring. Like, there's nothing for me to say when something is so good, right? And with that, I think, should you play Pro Skater HD in current year? I think you should. I think if you could figure out a way to do it, if you have some sort of PS3 360 setup where you can play it, or PC related stuff, I definitely think you should, spend a night or two and play through this game. Maybe unlock one of the secret characters. Unlock Low Poly Tony for me, right? That's gonna be your homework after this video. I want you to unlock Low Poly Tony, and I want you to get a high score of 10 million in Warehouse. Can you do that for me? If you do that, you can have my channel, and I'll stop making YouTube videos, because clearly you have out Tony Hawk'd me. Alright, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed what this video turned out for me. Like, I'm straight up, I'm being real here. This was not my intention when I started this video. I thought I was just gonna go into this and be like, this game's not as bad as people say it is. And it is as bad as people say it is, I think, to a point. But it's not so bad to the point where I think some people get a little extreme and they're like, oh, you should just never play this game. And it's like, no, it's not that bad. It's janky and it's weird, and that's kind of what makes it fun. I think you should play this game. I think you should spend time playing worse games. And I don't mean like games that are designed to just eat your money and they're just genuinely a bad experience up front because they're greedy, but like janky, lower budget games like this. I think you should spend the time, cleanse your palate a little bit, and just play something weird like this. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know this became a monstrosity of topic choices, but this was fun to make, and I've been wanting to talk about some more Tony Hawk stuff for a while. It's very, very near and dear to me. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you stick around. I love making videos like this. And I will see you guys later.